Today, yes. At last we will see the complete kit in detail to the millimeter of XILONEN. How does your combo work, and why do you have to give a couple of normal attacks strangely? Why are there equipment that doesn't enable or that doesn't work like the E2U triple GO, but does work with Navia? Why will the C2 enable us 3 of the best teams in the game and become directly masterful? How will Chero be even better than Kazuha? But also because there are many people who are talking about a kind of monohydro of new billet, Furina, Kazuha, XILONEN, and they have not understood of the whole kit, and that equipment may not work of any. So today, after the live stream, and finally with gameplays of the kit, we're going to see a character that's not just mast pull, but I want to baptize as Gamer Kenga. It has the potential to be, even in ignorance of the Mavawika kit, the best character in the game today, and who would say that like the Arcante and Nemo? Kazuha left Venti far behind. Finally, we have the real Archon Geo and Genshin Impact. So leave a good like, an RO and EU from the end, subscribe, leave a good comment for the algorithm. Thank you for enjoying and watching the video and the channel. Thank you for all the support. It does not cost you anything. It helps a lot, recommends and positions the video. And the entire channel team is grateful to us. So this is that moment when you have to give like, subscribe to bell. Thank you, there it is. Thank you very much, and welcome and guests to the directs that we will be talking about XILONEN and Day 1. Taking it out, C2 and Chero, on my 2 different accounts to test it with infinite teams. So prepare the farm and go with the complete kit of XILONEN. Well, we start with the soft. She's basically a character in a summary way who's the team's healer. With Kazuha Toto, it is of element Geo, and its construction is a point in favor because it goes from the line of characters that carry easily. Like Katsuha, is triple mastery recharges, or is Xiangyun going triple attack recharges, and so on? XILONEN is going to go triple defense with recharge and will have an alternative to carry Favonius. But their weapons are also going to be 2 simple weapons, Favonius and the weapon of NATLAN's forging that gives defense. Defense, defense, sword to one hand. And if only your weapon increases the equipment's elemental bonus. Well, she basically climbs from scale with percentage defense to more defense and her defense. Base is high, so as you know and you notice, your line is going to be playing defense. Your normal attack talent isn't used. You don't go up. Don't worry, it stays at level 1, it has nothing interesting, it's elementary ability. Here begins the interesting, first summarizing the much text of his elementary ability. His elementary ability is a green shadow that lasts 15 seconds. That is, 5 seconds that the current green shadow already does. Better and lower at level 10 at 36% resistances to 2 elements that interact with Geo. And Geo also does not interact with Anemo and Dendro, with which both the green shadow and this ability of XILONEN go. To lower resistances to Electro, Cry, Hydro, and Pyro. Now, how does this elementary ability work? Well, the elementary ability is in short, as you will see here, the elementary ability as Kenichi Moalani's to explore, and as you climb you also make a jump like an incredible ocelot that you can see that helps you explore a lot. But in combat, elementary skill has this theme of musical displays that for many people has been made a little bit long and a lot of text, and there are people who haven't understood it. In Razor, in Paninios, left, right, up and down. Well, XILONEN has 3 musical samples that are records, has 3 discs on its passive, and these default discs are 3 Geo discs. The discs do not accumulate from the same element, so even if you have 3 discs, you're not going to lower the resistance multiple times to the Geo or another element. And these records, if you have characters on your team of different elements, put here, you're going to change the elements on the discs, and it's just going to be elements that react with Geo. I mean, Hydro, Cryo, Electro, and Pyro, if you have a Moalani team, for example. Moalani, Nyahida, Xiangling, and XILONEN, Here the Dendro doesn't count because it doesn't interact with Geo, and you'll have a Xilonen Geo record, a Mualani Hydro disc, and a Xiangling Pyro disc. Then you will have the Pyro, the Hydro, and the Geo. You will have 2 discs of different elements, and you can lower resistances to Pyro and Hydro. And so on. That's easy how it works. Now, here's how complicated it is to lower the resistances. He says you're only going to activate low resistances by reaching maximum noctambulism points. Like all the characters of NATLAN you already know, Mualani and Kinnich, who have a bar with noctambulism point. By activating your elementary skill, you earn 45 points, but the maximum points are 90. How do we get the maximum of noctambulism points to be able to lower resistances to 2 elements? Well, there's an Ascension talent that needs to be commented on now because it's literally a talent that's to win the maximum of noctambulism points that says when you enter into Noctambula Blessing and Xilonen has at least 2 musical samples. That is to say, we have to have 2 elements that are not Geo. So, and here I explain. Xilonen Tuchero is amazing with Navia because you can play Navia. Xilonen Furina Bennett and you have 2 elements, Furina's Hydro and Bennett's Pyro distinct from Geo to activate this. But you can't play Xilonen with an Ito Geo Monkey because you imagine playing the Geo block because you don't have records out there. Imagine that you play triple Geo of Ito, Xilonen, Goru, and last you play Official, which is a team I have recommended. Well, you only have 1 official Electro disc. You can't activate this, then it doesn't work for triples or Geo's block. Besides, if you have C2 it does, but that's another story and not everyone will have C2. And he says, if you have at least 2 musical samples that have undergone an elementary change, you get 35 noctambulism points, with each normal or descending attack with a cooldown of 0.1. Why the descending one? So to combine with Kiori or X? Not whatever. And besides, if you have less than 2 musical samples that have suffered a elementary change, you gain harm inflicted from normal attacks. This is therefore for the Geo Monkey that makes no sense but good. So what do we keep with this? That basically if you have 2 different elements than Geo that make you have 2 samples, to lower 2 elemental resistances to 2 elements, you will be able to give 2 normal attacks in the rotation too. Win 90 noctambulism points, activate the resistance drop, and be able to play on a lot of teams where at least you have. And this is what the editors are putting over here because I'm going to explain it one last time in. If I have a team in theory of Novelet, Furina, Kazuha, Xilonen. Which is this team that I don't know why leaks and people playing these things have said? Oh. This team has surprised us when it seems that they haven't literally played this team. You'll have Hydro sample and sample. You will not have 2 different elements with which you will not activate the low resistances and also will not activate the heating, which is the ulti, and now I explain it. Kazuha Furina Novilete no Hashita, which makes Furina worse off. Furina, Official, Xilonen, and you have Electro. You have Hydro, and activate all of the Xilonen passives lowering resistances, activating heating and even activating the C2 to gain more life in the Hydros and more energy and cooldown reduction. Electros Tonste. Here you have bought the Shilni and the editors have put it with apples on screen so that you understand, and people are misinterpreting this. We have to carry 2 distinct elements in Xilonen to activate all passives. Now, elementary ability has more text, but it is related to its mount mode, which is very easy and very good. To close the elemental, the cooldowns I forgot. It basically has 7 seconds of cooldown with which elemental can be used in 14. 15 seconds, twice with which wipe swap teams. I explained them in many videos to go in and out with the characters. The dot limit as I said is 90, and when you pull it you have 45 with which you have to give 2 normals for the Ascent talent in the combo. The maximum duration of your elemental to explore is 9 seconds and the low resistances. As I said, it's 15 seconds to talent 10, 36% low resistances. There's a scale of damage in proportion to the defense, but it's not interesting because with Xilonen you're not going to hurt. Now I'm talking about the kit and the guns after talking about this. Ultimate is easy and has little text but has the same conditioning. You have to have on the discs 2 elements that do not BGO to activate the cure. If you do not activate the cure, do not activate in many teams to Fiorina and you will be with a XILONEN. That doesn't cure and doesn't lower resistances, with which he does half of his job. Depending on the different elementary types Win shows good lots of text says with at least 2 musical samples that have undergone an elementary change, that is to say to have 2 distinct elements. XILONEN plays a jubilant melody that each certain time restores life to characters in close use as a function of healing. It gives you 8 ticks with a healing scaling. Based on your gigantic defense to the entire team so far, there's only one character that ticks all the team, that is Xiangjun. Xiangjun and XILONEN are among the best characters to activate Fiorina. Jin also activates Fiorina well, but Jin what has is an initial hit to the entire team, very big. And then healing ticks to the character in field as well as Baiju, an elemental that heals the whole team with a tick or 2, very large if you have Kona 2 ticks. And the ulti only cures the character in field. As XILONEN has the most powerful form of heating and the best way to activate Fiorina ticks to everything. Team 8 defense climbing ticks crazy, and then says with less than 2 musical samples that have suffered a elemental change. XILONEN plays an energetic melody that produces 2 additional pulses to afflict geo damage in the area of effect, but does not cure. And this would be what you activate when you carry, for example, a triple geo with Fischl and only activate a sample. Electro would only activate extra ticks, but you wouldn't cure, and the damage it does isn't bad, but it's not the best damage in the world. Because you're not going to hurt, you're going to play the triple defense, and you're not carrying any proportion or bonus of damage, geo, etc. stats technicos de. The ulti easy cost of 60, but she with the set of NATLAN that will be around here on screen by the editors basically. Remember that the set both pieces tells us when a character when on the team actually or the character activates a burst state. Noctambulo, the character carries this set, is going to regenerate 6 points of energy, then it has a cost of 54, but concretely. If it's the other Ascension talent I haven't read to you, it allows you to activate another Noctambulo burst in the rotation, and this is a small bufo for Mualani to receive 2 loads of the Noctambulo, but not for Quinich, because Quinich is Dendra. And I wouldn't compete with her unless I had some weirdest burn team or crackle if I didn't believe it though. It will be tried, but here, if I don't not come down from subtractions here, or buffa in any way with which it would not be planned but fair, if not, it will allow you to activate an additional load of the nightly burst, with which an additional load of the 2 set pieces, with which 6612, so the actual cost of if not Nan is not 60, is 48, not only has Archont cooldowns, but that has an Archonte energy cost, but that the Gillen that has is the best form of Gillen of the whole game has 48. Of course that would make it really with 50-55 of recharge, has per multi, remembering that the Favonius, if you carry it Favonius, 61, so looking for Favonius doesn't even need to carry Shalon recharge on, and this is a cooldown wonder of. The ulti 15 seconds cooldown of Archonte ticks, healing a savage like a third of life, and makes 8 ticks, that means a crazy Gillen duration, 12 seconds of Gillen. But good gives you 8 ticks, which is the important thing, and then the damage it does is a 500% to talent 10, and if you activate the other part that makes 2 ticks more because they are 3 ticks of 500% that are 1500%, that is not bad. But it's 3 ticks either are continuous ticks like an Albedo Ashuri, or something so nothing your ulti Jesse Cristo, but there's that having 2 different elements to activate 2 loads to be able to cure if you don't cure not with you. See well talents, there is a talent, which is the typical NATLAN characters like Mualani or Kinitz, which is a lot of text, and basically tells you that because you can change the character to insert a small give. This we do in open world to change the character NATLAN so that Zudanli receives a talent that is the typical character of NATLAN. And if what we do in NATLAN, we have a team of Mualani, XILONEN or Kinitz XILONEN, although to explore is Jesus Christ not seeing in combat, but to explore is Jesus Christ with it, which you will do the Kinitz Liana and switch to XILONEN, and climb and jump, and then switch to Kachina and then Mualani, and you do the Spider-Man of the U3 webs in fact. I think their exploration is that strong and here they have done so. A little adaptation not to exploration is interesting, but it is a lot of text then first talent real abstention that has been then explained before that. When you enter Noctambula medicine you will get into 2 normal attacks of 35 extra points of Noctambulism to reach the 90 KPO to activate the low resistances with which the XILONEN combo is really elemental ultin. And you have to give 1 or 2 normal, I think it's exactly 2 not. Effectively 2 both to make sure you activate the Favonius. That this is crazy with the 2 extra normals to make sure you activate the Favonius to make that capillo of maximum Noctambulism points to activate the low resistances. I repeat, the playability of XILONEN will be in combat. Elemental ulti 2, normal and broken, and those 2 extra normals also help you activate Favonius particles if not. You're very likely and don't jump the particles of the second Favonius Ascension talent when XILONEN has the maximum of Noctambulism points, and remember what previous talent says when XILONEN has at least 2 musical samples that have undergone an elementary change, that this is the point that people are not taking into account, says when XILONEN has the maximum of Noctambulism points with 2 elements that are not Geo on the computer and can react with Geo, does not count any anemoses, while in Noctambula measurement, an effect similar to the Noctambula explosion is activated once every 14 seconds. Team causes a nightly explosion. XILONEN's defense increases by 20% 15 seconds plus defense plus basically healing. Very interesting summary. This is XILONEN Chichero. I'm still going to talk about the cone of the C2. I'll make a video apart from the C2 when I get out the character because it is interesting, but still the C2 is not clear for many teams because there are people who still believe that if it doesn't have 2 distinct elements, a Nuvilet Furina Kazuha XILONEN could work, and in theory maybe it works because 2 samples of Hydro not low resistance is double, but capable 2 samples of Hydro with 1 of Geo could arrive to work, but in several talents specifies 2 different elements with which this has to be tested and seen in the game. When I get out, but the Shero removed so far is Jesucrist, and it could become not a more pull but a game changer that I will make a separate video talking about this now. Cone and C2. Quickly, the cone is divided into 2 halves as that of Mualani and Kinis. The first half is like more easy to explore. In summary, you consume 30% less Noctambulism points in Modo Skates and Ocelot, and apart you increase by 45% of the duration of the Noctambulism points to explore easier. The second half, the character that good to activate the musical samples of XILONEN is with 2 different elements with maximum Noctambulism points, and activating low resistances will also give you resistance interruption to the characters in the field. It's interesting, not the cone is like a decoration, and it helps a little people go for the C2 what people are going to go. Geo Resistance, and this already enables that if you can play in triple Geo, even though you don't cure, because it won't enable you to cure. Also says by activating XILONEN samples, all the close characters of the team get the following effects. Depending on the musical sample of its element, i.e. the Hydros will win this Bufo, the Pyro will win the Bufo of the Pyro, and so only the same element then the character's Geo wins are going to win 50% year inflicted. This is going to be very rough for the Navia team. The best in slot of the Navia team is going to be Navia, XILONEN, Furina, Bennett. Leave me in the comments if you want to make you a video of the teams that are going to improve with XILONEN. And not only that, but XILONEN in how many top teams. 10 of the best teams in the game is going to come in. Counting your C2 is going to be a game changer, literally. And of course, this is going to enable the best in slot of the best team in Navia of the whole game, and will make Navia better and position itself perhaps close to the top 6, top 7. But also, even if you don't activate the cure, the C2 enables you to play XILONEN on triple Geo or Geo block teams. Even play a kind of Albedo Goro XILONEN Ito where XILONEN doesn't cure but Goro with the C4 does cure and has that shield all the time, so it can be interesting. Then Pyro, the attack increases by 45%. This for what we are given. Then for example, play a Tatagalia XILONEN Kazuha Bennett and you have an international. I said Kazuha For this youngling you have an international, removing Katsuha by losing the ability to gather but increasing the damage Pyro and Hydro, and giving him a 45% attack on XILONEN. To do more damage, another team example of putting XILONEN here would be the gaming teams where you can play Gaming Furina. You switch to Xianyun for XILONEN, and you put Bennett in, or you can play Gaming Furina, which are two different elements that react. With XILONEN you can play XILONEN and Xianyun and switch to Bennett for XILONEN, so that XILONEN buffet the 45% extra attack to gaming plus low resistances plus the rest of buffos, and we'll see. How about, because many teams even above all to C2, you can replace Bennett and Kazuha. In any of the cases, if we fulfill everything else, the other example of Pyro goes to B for Alekino, an Alekino Furina Kazuha XILONEN, that we have two distinct elements, or an Alekino Furina XILONEN. Bennett, that we also have two different elements, will also make 45% more Alekino attack. And you know what the attack for Alekino after the Hydros increases 45%? The maximum life, which is this, because basically for Nuvolet and for Mualani. But remember that you have to activate two samples, that is to say, in principle, if you want to play it with Nuvolet VA, to play Nuvolet Furina XILONEN. And the last one has to be an Electro, has to be official, or Bayadu, or whatever. That activates the two samples of the discs to activate the low resistances for Mualani is going to be best in slot, because this C2 that gives 40% of life, good Mualani 45 in fact, you will always play Mualani to burn, with which you will always have a Mualani Hydro and Mavuika, or Xianlin, or Zoma, or Deha, or whatever, and if you will always be activated this, then always go. To give 45% of life to Mualani, and cryo critical damage increases 60% of cryo characters, more of the same if you play Ayaka Permafrost and you put XILONEN instead of Kazuha. Maybe it improves concretely and Permafrost is not the best, and what? We don't know how much it might break Geo's frozen ticks, we don't know, but playing XILONEN instead of Kazuha in Permafrost equipment, or even instead of Kokomi. Although Kokomi you would lack Hydro or Fury or something like that, very interesting. And finally, Electro gives 25 points of energy to the Electro characters and reduces in 6 seconds their cooldown. This is for our Enabulas, the best Raiden hyper carry in the history of Genshin Impact, because if you play Raiden Sarah XILONEN instead of Kazuha, and Bennett XILONEN C2 in this case, you have Bennett's Pyro, the Raiden Electro activate the passives and reduce it 6 seconds. The Raiden who is 18 passes to 12 and reduces 6 seconds to Sarah who has 20 with what happens to 14, and you have a Raiden hyper carry of 15 seconds. Currently the Raiden hyper carry lasts 18 of Raiden or up to 20 of Sarah, because the hyper carry are very low, and you usually throw out the elemental ulti of Sarah, so you wait 20 seconds for the cooldown of Sarah. This enables a Raiden hyper carry. With 15-second rotation Archon cooldown plus the pointless characters buffos, I think he'll be the best Raiden hyper carry of the history of the game, and the rest of constellations are paid to win. But it is that what is really broken is the C2 of XILONEN KIT. Jesus, is that you make it car and the whole story you don't care exactly to finish the C2. This broken of course would make a video only C2. Of course, leave me the comments and I'll make a solo video of equipment that improves XILONEN is a game blackmailer. Beyond the must pull is to say it has potential to be the best character in the game, and it will literally change everything that we know, and it's a Bennett plus Kazuha together. It's that build would take the new NATLAN asset that's over here on screen, and can go or triple defense with a lot of charge on substat, and the defense weapon, in which case you only focus on having Prima, ulti, and more defense, more cures are what I will recommend to you, and it is my way of building. And I think it is the most recommended. For everyone, put the Favonius and carry it also with triple defense and probability in substat, or with double defense and probability helmet for the Favonius to be activated. I'm going to recommend much more the Favonius version to generate particles for the whole team, and so you have ulti perma and all the rest of the team little more. This is XILONEN, and with this video, you have more than clear to leave a good ulti of Bennett. Subscribe, you leave a good comment for the algorithm. How crazy this character, I already say attentive to the streams because we'll try a Chero, and C2 because in both accounts I'm going to pull it out. In a C2 and in a Chero, his weapon gives good elementary year to the team, and such a thing is like a weapon that buffers more to the team, but I think you don't have to worry about the gun, and just a little bit more leaving a good ulti from Bennett doesn't cost you anything. It's free support a lot, recommends the video, makes us grow all the team that is grateful to us. Thank you very much.